Happy Victoria Day, and God save the Queen. So the weather here is absolutely wonderful, and we thought, well, let's have a picnic. So we're going to have hamburgers outside on our deck today. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make hamburgers. We're going to make everything right from scratch, starting with the buns. And it's easy to make hamburger buns, but they do take a long time. Hamburger buns take a long time to rise. So it's quite early in the afternoon right now, and we're getting started, so we'll be ready for dinner. So the very first thing we're going to do here is make the hamburger buns. And hamburger buns, almost like any other bread you make sure your water is between 120 or 110, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and mine is. So I put that in. And proofing the yeast for these hamburger buns is just a little bit different than what I do for my other bread. I'm actually going to put in a half a cup of flour in to get started. So anyways, I'll go through the whole ingredients to start. So I had 1 cup of water, and this is 3 cups of flour plus a half, so 3.5 cups of flour. And I have 3 tablespoons of margarine and 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 egg. And then I'm going to put in just about a tablespoon of yeast. And that's the actual bread. And then over here, you'll see in the corner here, I've got some sesame seeds and an egg. So later, I'm going to show you how to top them and make the sesame seed buns, because you can't have hamburgers without sesame seed buns. So let's get started. The first thing we'll do is get the yeast to prove by putting in a half a cup. So I put my cup of water, right? And now a half a cup of flour. And this is the 2 tablespoons of sugar. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to mix it around real nice. So if I mix it around, you'll see it just mixes right into like nothing. And then once I get that mixed in, then I can put in my tablespoon of yeast. I'm getting low in yeast. I'm sure hoping the yeast comes back to the store soon. Every day, that's the thing that keeps me up at night. And just not quite a tablespoon. It's just a little bit less than a tablespoon. Keep my yeast all sealed. And I'll stir my yeast in. And then, just like any other bread, it'll probably take about 5 minutes to proof. And once it's proofed, you'll see it's bubbling. And that bubbling will mean that we're ready to add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so my yeast is all proofed there. It looks good, ready to go. And the thing, remember, with yeast is that if you buy yeast, and you can buy it in bulk, it's a lot cheaper. And it's no problem to keep, as long as you keep it in a sealed container and you keep it in the freezer. It'll last indefinitely in the freezer in a nice sealed container. Now that the yeast is proofed, it's actually quite easy. We can now add 1 egg. Put our egg in. And this is 3 cups of flour. So we can put our 3 cups of flour. Actually, what I like to do, I like to put my liquids on the bottom. I would always put all my liquids and then my powder on the top. So that's our 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I actually used margarine. It's the same either way. And then I'm just going to carefully put in my 3 cups of flour. And that's all my ingredients in. And I can let my trusty stand mixer work its magic. And I just put it on setting number 2. So, dough's all done. I just love these stand mixers. It's just the way to do it. This dough, it shouldn't be too sticky. It's not a sticky dough, right? Not like it's like bread. It should have sort of a really sort of bready feeling to it. So just get a nice ball. Just make a nice little ball out of it, and then we'll put it in the bowl. And I've already oiled this bowl, So just make sure you coat the whole dough with oil, and then just make sure the bowl itself is well oiled. And then we can cover it and set it aside. This was set aside for a long time, actually, compared to most breads. We're going to set this aside for 1.5 hours before it'll be ready to be punched back down again. Okay, while the bread is rising, well, the buns are rising there, we can make the hamburgers. So here we're going to make them from beef, and this is lean ground beef, and I'm using 1,200 grams, 1.2 kilograms of meat. So we put in the ground beef, and then I have some breadcrumbs. I make these breadcrumbs here at home, and I have a breadcrumb. I have a breadcrumb video coming if it's not out yet. So I'll add the breadcrumbs. And I like to, this is optional, everything's optional, but I like to add onion. And so in here is finely ground, very, very finely ground in the food processor onion. You can save your eyes some trouble and use the food processor. And also I've put about 6 cloves of garlic in it. So depending, if you like garlic, you can have maybe 6 cloves of garlic. And I add all that in. Then, 2 eggs. Oops, that was an excellent egg cracking job there. And I'm going to then just add some Italiano spices. I like my Italiano spices for almost everything. Boy, it's a strong onion. I'm crying here. Put some Italiano spices, and then I'm just going to put just a bit of Montreal steak spice in it. It's a bit saltier. That'll help. It's good for the barbecue. So I'll put some of those in for that. Okay, that's good seasoning. And so then you can use a plastic glove if you prefer that. But my hands, I wash my hands really good, so I'm just going to mix it in with my hands. And then you want to get this all really mixed in well. And if you don't use breadcrumbs, if you haven't used breadcrumbs and you're wondering why I use breadcrumbs, I have actually found that breadcrumbs make the hamburgers taste more hamburgery, because they really hold the flavor of the meat in them. So yeah, breadcrumbs can be really quite a good way of making your hamburgers a lot juicier, is what I find. So just mix all of this in. So now we have everything all mixed in together, and this now the whole mixture here, mine weighs about 1,700 grams, right, 1.7 kilograms. So that's a perfect amount to make 10 hamburgers. About 170 grams is quite a good weight for a hamburger, really nice size. You can make them a little bit bigger if you like bigger hamburgers, or smaller if you like smaller hamburgers. So just know how much yours is and then divide it out the way you like. So I like to have mine all exactly the same, so nobody complains that I got a big one or I got a small one. So I tend to weigh them out a bit. And then make them all 170. So that's 170. And then, so you can see that's a pretty big hamburger. And if you think, oh, well, that's a lot bigger than the one, or a lot smaller than the ones that they have in the frozen. Remember, half your frozen hamburger is going to disappear, but almost none of this hamburger is going to disappear while it's cooking, particularly because I have the breadcrumbs in, and because this is lean ground beef, and usually if you buy the frozen patties, you're probably getting a medium ground beef, right? So there's one very nice hamburger. And we're just going to make 10 of these. So stay with me. we are, 10 hamburgers. We're going to set those aside until dinner time. The dough's been rising for about an hour and a half now, so the next step is to to take them out into eight rolls. We're going to make 8 rolls. And so if we want to divide them out evenly. So yeah, so about 105 grams per roll. So I'll just make 8 little rolls here. Perfect. So I got 8 of these, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take them, make sure they're nice, nice rolls like this, and then pat them down, and make sure your surface place is quite clean, so you don't pick up any dirt. And you're going to pat them down like that, and then just turn them into rolls. And hamburger buns, of course, they're hamburger buns, right? So you want them a little bit flat to start. So as you're pushing them in, push them down and get them a little flat, and that way they'll be big enough when they come to turn into hamburgers. And then we'll put them on the tray. Yeah, so I just like to press them out. You could try rolling them in a ball, but I find this way really works because it gets a nice flat surface on the top. And I've oiled my my pan, so I didn't need to put a lot of flour or anything to keep it from sticking. So that's a real nice one, yeah. That one looks real good. And then I've got one more. So just push it out, and then just get it up like a dumpling there, kind of. And then you can push it down. It's a nice form. It's a really easy way of forming buns, to get them like that. There, now they're all done. There's 8 of them there. So we could give them I think just a little bit more distance here. It's a bit close, actually. Let's just pull them apart just a little bit. That way they have lots of room to rise, because the hamburger should rise quite a bit. And we're actually going to let them rise for about 45 minutes before we cook them. So I'm just going to cover that. Okay, so you can see they've all risen now. They're starting to look like buns. So what I'm going to do is I want to make them sesame seed buns. And the best way to do that is to use an egg wash. So you put 1 egg. 1 egg. And just a splash, almost, I could maybe think of it as like a half tablespoon or something, or just a splash of milk. And then just beat the egg. And then what I'm going to do is put the egg wash over top of the buns. Now, you can just put a little bit, enough to cover them, but then you'll have like egg wash left over. So I actually put a lot on, and I just try to use up the whole egg, because I don't know what I'm going to do with a half an egg that's left over. So I just put lots on here. Yeah, and so I wash them all quite generously with the egg wash. And then take my sesame seeds. And I'm probably more generous than most with my sesame seeds, but certainly more generous than the restaurants. It'll give you 1 or 2 sesames. There you go. So there it is. They're all they're ready to go in the oven. So I'm preheating my oven right now for 375 degrees. So 375 degree preheated baked oven, and then they'll go in for 15 minutes. And I'll set my timer for 15 minutes. Okay, they're all done. Here comes the hamburger buns. And with the hamburger buns coming out, now I can get, look at those. Those look like sesame seed hamburger buns. And those could sit and cool while we cook the hamburgers. Okay, hamburgers are going on. This is my first trip outside with go home cooking on the barbecue. It is really nice day for this time of year in Edmonton. We're quite lucky to have weather like this. Now my way is to put them on. I don't touch them until they're almost done, and then I flip them once, and that's about it. We're going to cook all the can tonight. The kids can have them for lunches and stuff. Okay, hamburgers are all on, and the French fries are cooking. So another, hamburgers take what, about 10 minutes or so. Don't overcook your hamburgers. Cook them kind of medium rare, maybe medium well. I guess medium well is the best. But not overcooked or they'll lose their juiciness. Okay, hamburger's all ready. We've got some French fries there, hamburger and French fries. And a nice patty with some lettuce and tomato and cheese, ketchup and relish. Enjoy.